and the 3s go over there. Now you need to take easels with you, and there are magic markers. I gave one to 2.
Okay.
Where's the tape? Where's the tape? Where? No, I don't want that tape. Yes.
Out of this coast. Now, first thing, availability of slaves. And we had to get them from Africa. Actually, yeah, they tripped from Africa here. We had to get the slaves from Africa. And now that was a business in itself. You know, just the trading of slaves.
Develop how many they would lose in the travel.
Now, in 1800s, you're right. They wanted to make sure they had a workforce, right? And then they want this workforce to reproduce like animals. You know, that's why it was so important that they have healthy slaves. They didn't want slaves that were sick. So the numbers that would die in transport, you know, just like if you move livestock. Now back then they wouldn't think of probability.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm trying to put it together in my head because they would calculate the number that they actually need to capture versus what they would lose with travel.
Now, things that I looked at, most of the time they didn't think of them dying in transport because they wanted that was money they had. So they wanted to keep them alive, at least till they got to the auction block. So they didn't consider killing them along the way, and that's why there was so much crying. And when slaves started running away because they were losing their money. That's why they were, you know, when they were trying to get them off the coast of Africa, they had people bound, gagged, chained, and everything.
But you know what? I was thinking in terms, what you said was what I was into, but I was thinking in terms of they had already lost down to the bear because they had figured that through disease
And control over the system and keep it whereby we can dictate what happens and what don't happen.
Keep them niggas in line. That's right.
And how do you do that with people who, first of all, when you bring people to the country, you make sure you destroy their knowledge.
That's right.
So that they don't know where they come from.
That's right.
Make sure they can't speak your language.
That's right.
That way there's no way of communicating. I know, that's what they did to me.
Yeah, that's true. You want to tell them again so he can record it? Like destroying the family. You talked about destroying the family system.
Well, let's start with, let's just start with our vision. Our vision for maintaining the system, and that's part of our vision. Maintaining the system.
The vision.
What system are you talking about maintaining? But see, you know, we don't want to take it for granted. And say, the vision is to maintain the system, we need to talk about what system it is that we're talking about maintaining, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's like if I'm the producer of the goods, how do you get the goods from me?
Right. That's
So it had to be somebody had to be the
So there was traders who were trading the slaves, right? The people who were marketing them,
Right.
the slave traders.
Exactly.
And then us as a community of farmers were needing the
who
slaves,
needed
right?
the slave, right? Exactly. So there was two groups of people there.
Right.
There was a
Just like a
marketer.
business, there was a market, there was the people that market, and then there was the actual ones that actually put the purchase of the material. What I'm
see how-
seeing now is they weren't actually just brought in, per se, to you. They were just brought in and
Then you
sold.
have to, exactly.
But
See, you
people
had
knew
to
they
have.
needed workers.
Yeah. You had to. How was you going to? How you was going to get them?
Like the tractors, plant builders, people go out and crush them. They brought them in, somebody went out responsible, like a business, they captured them, they brought them in, and you went to the auction box.
That's right.
And you bought.
Okay.
So what you going with?
That's the auction.
It's a business.
But it wouldn't that be the person that had the most money than the rest of them?
Exactly. Somebody had-
more money
exactly.
than the rest of the non-slave and make more
Class
money
is-
than the slave.
how about
Then
that?
I'm not gonna make a class unit.
They get that. You're right. Absolutely right.
Okay. This young man has a question.
Hey, y'all got slave there, man. First of all, how do you get the slaves to get on the boat? And then you get strong and black folk. And you know white people.
Because they caught them.
How do you call them? A whole country is slave.
They use black people to catch black people caught black people. You hear what I said? See, that's the other thing. Your question is that actually wasn't it white people who came and caught slavery? They used blacks to catch slavery. In other words, black people sold black people into slavery.
So there were tribes of us over there. Tons of tribes.
So it was different people.
And what they would do is the European people, being the French, the Portuguese, and then, you know, the Great Britain type European, they would come up to the country and need help. So what they would do is they would get like a scout. You know, some of our people, local people. Yeah. Well, the thing is, we would be for hire. Like if someone came right now to Mississippi and said, tell me where we could go, so and so, so and so. You would be like the guy.
A consultant.
Yeah, a consultant. And part of your job would be to lure people out so they could be netted or trapped or be whatever you make, just like you trapping an animal.
They're trapping the small business.
I'm not certain of the time, but I think that's how we do it. Slave trade.
So they were also you, like they had, say they had already captured you, brought you over into the colony, and you've been trained. And you think it's like a promotion. I look at like farming. When I was coming up to the farm, they gave me as farming positions over farm or other black folks that were working the land. So you think that you've gotten a promotion, so now you go across the water with the white slaves to have cattle and entice the slaves out.
Where they are located.
And see, that was part of the system, was to make sure that you kept leading us to where the slaves are, and leading the slaves back to us, so when we get difficult to flush them out. And it was a terrible trade business.
You see, you got to remember also that from Europe there was goods. There was goods and services brought into Africa. You know what I'm saying? So there was this whole trade business from one section to the next.
It's basically just like today. If take for instance, you have pawn shops in town. If you want to go in trade with your television,
Yeah, we need somebody who know what they're doing. We need to find people who know what they're doing. You already mentioned that we can't deal with idiots because they're going to run off and we're never going to find them. And they've got enough sense of community to come back and retaliate against us because that's already been proven. So if that's the case then, we've got to find somebody who look different from us. Okay? And folk who look different from us going to be a different color from us. Okay? So we got to find us some black folk. Okay? Now, they already talking about going to the continent of Africa, bringing over black folk, right?
Right, we can go
And
to
from
dark
what I
classes that
understand-
used to work in the land.
Right, and they've already created things because, Africa's already a great empire. So we already know that folk there know what they're doing. Okay. Now, one of the things we need to do is to get that labor here.
But now we can't just go and just get tried. We can't do that because when we do that, we're going to import the same problem that we already have. So we have to find a way to get some from this tribe and this tribe and this tribe because we don't want communication.
Right. We don't want them talking to each other. As a matter of fact, we don't even want them looking at each other. Let's not talking to each other. Okay, so if we get them here, we got to separate them.
It indicated that you was not as good as them.
I got you. I'm following y'all. Y'all bear with me now.
And we want to make sure now, we white folks now, looking at what we gonna do to make sure, as we said here, to maintain a system of slavery. So we can make sure that white folks dominate and control, white folks can make as much money as they possibly can. So what kind of system are we gonna set up for us? We ain't talking about black folks. Black folks ain't in this. We gonna keep black folks out of this. That's what we talking about doing. What kind of system we gonna set up to make sure that we white folks stay where we want to be and get any and everything that we want to do. That's where we are in this discussion.
So we're going to make sure that that blacks are not educated. Then let's make sure that
Kind of dehumanized, you know. And I think what they did was show the power that they have over different families, they would take them around from one place to the other, and they would put one in front of a bunch of people. One man, he done did something wrong. He tried to run away, and that way he tried to run away, and they would put him before the other and beat him and just beat him and let the rest of them look at him. And that was instilled into that one that's looking at. Well, ain't no nigga that was trying to get away, because if I got to go through with that, I might as well go ahead on and submit.
Okay, and the other thing that we're going to do, we're going to make sure that black people continue to fight among and between themselves. We're going to keep them in a state of confusion.
Well, maybe they weren't fighting among themselves when they brought them over.
But if we want to...
Yes.
Okay.
And in fact, that's how you trace the history of families in the black community in the South, is when you get back that far, you're looking for bills of sale rather than birth certificates.
So could we say buying and trading goods and services?
Buying and trading, selling of goods and services.
Let's say, even though you have different vehicles and you have a bill of sale and everything is written on there saying what type of vehicle that is, because they have serial now. So my concern now, how would they know which slave belongs to who?
Because when they got the bill of sale, that slave master name would be on it. You know?
Some did.
Yeah, some of them what's called did, and then if they free, then they would ask, who is your master?
So you have to carry a piece of paper with
You had to have paper, and you remember, and once you got free, once they was free coming over into the States, then they had to have a piece of paper saying that they were free, just like your deed. You're free.
Just a little bit.
You know. And they knew, and they also knew what slaves belongs to what, because remember, now you're white, so you're doing all this communication, you know who your slaves are. And if they leave their plantation to come on someone else's plantation and they catch them there, then they ask, who is your master?
So they were that faithful at that particular time.
The white ones, yes. And they're still like that today. That wasn't just then. That is happening today. As to they stick together today, no matter what situation or circumstance they're in, white folks stick together.
We didn't just kill them all by shooting them, we killed them with disease too. So
to handle that. I think the other thing is, like you said, natives knew the land better than the colonists. You know, so they knew how to stay in the land and disappear. So they used their environment where white folks blend into America. You know, natives blend into they knew where to go, to hide out. They knew how to strategically position themselves to wage war. But that's not to say that blacks didn't have one either. And I think that's what we're talking about. Black resistance.
But you ain't there yet. We got a whole section for resistance. Okay. Right now we're talking about the system itself, how it was put together, and the structure that upheld it. So you got to talk about all your needs and all your other pieces, right? What do y'all know about it? What would you have done if you had been there? And you won't know. You got that? Well, you would have helped them run away.
You got to be a white man now. From the where? No, this was before we got the black folk. We get to we decided that we had to go get black folk.
What would you all have
we got to figure out why these people didn't work.
What would you all have done? Being an old white master. The missus there. Y'all be one of those big bucks. The stallions. For real, because they looked down for breeding too. They didn't want nobody that was scrawny. They was healthy.
She has reasons for not working. As Native Americans and indigenous herds could run really fast. They could get away. It wasn't enough for them to run the plantations. Native Americans were susceptible to diseases, and Asians spoke a language no one could understand or translate. Therefore, they kept us as a community, right? And we couldn't exploit them. So.
Right down, they kept a sense of community. I think that's important.
And that's the same thing as the natives too, though. They had close family ties because all of them lived in the same village.
That's right. And we talked about them fighting back as well, the Native Americans.
Huh?
Don't underestimate the fact that women.
And then you had to fight.
They could fight back, the Native Americans.
And I think the other thing about natives is that they had and they were unwilling to let whites come in and tell them that somehow or another it was heathen or barbaric. You know, they believed in what they believed in. They were close to nature, so they weren't going to let whites come in and tell them any different.
Even though white people were satisfied, they destroyed that too. Right. That's a whole nother story, a whole nother history. But they did that too. So.
Same Lord. If you don't believe in yourself, you're definitely not going nowhere. No matter how much you read and write, because you don't believe you can.
Deny the right, put legal influence out there. They don't have the right, they got a right to do it.
And keeping separating families and lowering
Yeah, put that in parentheses. That legal in parentheses. That's the rights we're talking about.
I think they're keeping separating the families and lowering self-esteem and instilling fear. I think we should take female from the family, if it's a white or whatever,
Then we
and
have to
engage in sexual advancement for
we have to be kept in our place.
kids and let them stay in your place.
You have to stay in your place. Because if you get out of your place, right, would be an example. You would be an example for them.
The children to finish doing the work, the scrubbing of our floor.
We don't really. It's just good discussion.
So they more like a relative. And if they don't do what they're supposed to, they more gonna happen.
So we gotta give them tasks, work, duty.
Why don't you channel us in front of them? So you keep track of your conversation.
What we're gonna say about the old? What we're gonna do with the old? Our old folks. Everybody getting you old. I mean, but you know, they can do something. They can bust the clothes and more than rock the baby.
I don't know about y'all, but I'm gonna let mine die. Cause last time I shot one of them old heads, the plantation was up in the ends. Now I'm just telling you this because my dad came out of slavery from his mama, so they never killed black folks. You know, they never killed them because it makes the young folks all excited. You don't come back here and kill somebody. So if we want to keep them separated, you wouldn't do that.
But what I was doing, I wasn't killing them, but I was selling the older slaves and trade them off for some younger slaves. I may have to get rid of
Who wanna buy?
to get one. Somebody out there will.
But you know, they use a lot of older people to be in charge of other slaves that's coming in. Don't they usually do that?
Okay, I got a question. Then this is my question.
Break the spirits.
If we're gonna use our old slaves,
Let's use that.
what do we do with old slaves?
They use it to break the young ones' spirit.
That's our solution.
Hold on a second. The question was what to do with the old slaves. What do we do with the old slaves?
They gave them a spot so they can tell them those.
And there was one solution was to use them to break the new slaves. And then there was another one to make them a spy.
Tell them
Alright, solution.
Write the solutions out beside it.
Outside.
To break the new slaves, make them a spy. Oh, I don't know about y'all, but there's so much noise. I thought we were Now, what was the other thing?
What I'm saying, like, you know, what I was saying with me, what I would do is I wouldn't kill them, but if they get too old, if they get too old, but if they you know, I put the young blood up in
Trade.
Yeah.
Put trading. Put trading.
Danny wants to trade her slave.
Right, that makes sense.
We have 4 minutes, you know.
But the reality of trading back then, it didn't really deter trading older folks. What they did is those old slaves that lived with them a long time, they did just like she said, they used them to acclimate the new slaves, keep everybody in some line, be your conduit back to the slave.
But you see, my mind was that it depends on, you know, I'm back there now. And I own so much. But I don't know what you put in. And every time you go with the best. When you get weak out
So what you're doing, Andy, you're actually trading your
So
slaves
that's
before they
the
get
question
too
is what do
old.
we
You
do
trade,
with the
you
sick
trade them
ones?
at 30, right?
Hold on.
when they get weak.
Let's ask the question, what do we do with the sick ones?
Yeah, but then you need
What do we do with our sick slaves? What do we do with our sick slaves?
Well, they would have burial rituals. They killed them. They would give them time to infect the rest of them. They got killed. Well, see, my grandmama came out and said, she told my daddy all this. So
Wait, I gotta ask a real question.
they killed them slaves.
Take them out in the field somewhere to do
No, they had a ritual. They had an older head, take them out. They would give them time. If they were free, they were sick, you know.
That's what I'm saying. We just take them out in the field and shoot them.
They was buried. They throw them in the mountain. What do you do with a sick dog? Most of the time, we treat them like animals. We treat them like animals. If your horse is sick, if you can't cure it, if it breaks his leg, you can't cure it. You know, you can't cure it, so you won't let it suffer.
How are we gonna make sure?
But see the thing of
We're property. They're property.
I shot my horse and we go across the bridge.
Because that's
With
what
them
you're
now.
looking
Wait a
at
minute,
them
Judge.
as. You're looking at them
Yeah, you got your camera.
as property.
They got that.
It's exactly what it is, and when we can't do anything else with that property, we have to get rid of it.
Yeah, but I'm looking at you with my eyes. Wait a minute.
No, you're not looking at me with your eyes
You're
because
property.
the thing of it is that you are property.
So we have someone to
You do not have rights.
yeah.
You remember?
I'm gonna concentrate on this too long. I'll be done got an
And those people, like landowners that they had, they exploited them, cheated them out of their property. You know, here, it's the same thing. We don't own nothing. We don't even value land. It means millions to us, even that. Right. It's just handed down. It's serious.
Like they trying to push that.
This is true slavery.
All right, so we're gonna break for lunch, but when we get back, we're gonna work on it. We need to be in control. We have to develop a policy that controls these folks that come up. Develop a policy.
You gotta put some fear in them. You got to put some fear in them. So we can put all this fear.
We just walk up. We gonna walk back to.
Take away the family. Let me finish. How are we gonna, when we get them here, how are we gonna develop a system where we keep them in their place?
Okay, now y'all was too deep. I'm gonna get back together, y'all.
I have to be kept on track. I get too excited. The policy and law of law governs people.
Okay, calm thinker. Let's go on.
I was just reading.
Like it's in my house. Like they had land, right? They had land, they own land. Now they don't own that land now. So that boils back to the thing about value stuff. We teach black folks, if you got something, it don't even mean nothing to you. So nowadays, I was looking in the room, you don't know about all those lands.
You know, then we can deny the view of a different value of worth, the value of everything.
Even with us,
Right.
not to value one another. From then, even to now, started then, and it's just carrying on.
Why we assume because of the dead, but we don't even value life.
We don't value life.
We don't value life.
We don't value life.
We don't value anything. So we become totally destructive.
Just hand it down.
It's a destructive mentality that exists in the, when I say in the black community. There are always exceptions. There's always a few exceptions that does not support that way of thinking. But as a majority, that's the thinking of the majority of the young people today is that, you know, I ain't gonna say I don't need it. If I can do this today, forget about it. Now that, in 1972, when they had an article in Ebony magazine showing the blacks in the South had lost 9 million acres. 9 million in the South. I think that was strictly in the area of Mississippi and Arkansas. Like three states where that amount of land had been lost. And they're losing in the day. Same thing. Many of them were lost by the young people get in trouble. They go down and bond them out, put their land up against it, forfeit the bond, land gone.
How you want to do it,
write down what the problem is, and then what the solution is. The problem was how to give them religion.
So what does religion answer the question?
Us controlling their religion.
Excuse me?
Controlling them. Controlling them.
How does it control them?
We're going to free our people in the church.
A preacher, we're going to build a church.
About
we're going to
our
go to
idea
church
of
and
what
that preacher
religion should
going
be.
How will it control them?
because they want to get to know God like.
But what specifically about religion gives you the basis for control? And what I'm doing here is I'm trying to make you to cut down below the surface of saying, well, the church is a way of controlling people. Specifically, what is it about what went on in the church that provides the basis for control?
God likes us and don't like them.
Excuse me?
God likes us and don't like them, and that's what
I
we're
still
going
don't
to
understand how that. You got to be clear, more complete in your analysis. What is it that you're talking about? In what way does church provide the basis? Does religion provide the basis for control?
Because once you're doing that, the education that you're giving them is not the same education that we'll be receiving, but we're gonna educate them to the level what we want them to be on.
And what is that level?
That level.
Fear level.
Fear of what?
The master.
So how does
charge,
religion
the
teach
master.
them fear of you?
Because they won't be receiving the same religion that we'll be receiving. We'll be giving them our message.
I understand that, but what is your message that will give them fear of you? Well, excuse me?
The obedience to your master.
Okay. So now you're beginning to break it down. The purpose, what your need is to teach obedience to those in control. Okay. The solution, one of the remedies is to use church to focus people's attention on the importance of being obedient first to God and then to those who are God's messenger. That's a little bit more specific, right? You see what I'm driving at? And then it's not just this vague thing of, gee, I wonder how he does it. It's
We don't want them. I don't want mine to get to know God.
But you want to be obedient?
Yeah, but to me, not to God. If I'm on a slave, I want to be obedient to me, not to God.
So you're the messenger.
Because if he go with God, and learn what God is saying, he's not going to be obedient to me.
What is in the churches, what is in the biblical message that you could utilize to teach obedience to you as a slave master?
The Bible said, obey your earthly master.
What else? What is that saying about render unto Jesus? Render unto God? Right. Right.
Render unto Caesar what is Caesar from the biblical point, and render unto God what is to God.
But back then, they weren't teaching them. I really don't believe they were teaching them that way. I believe they were teaching them just what they wanted them to know on themselves.
But hold up,
They took the Bible and translated it different than what we're reading today.
But you got to remember that the preacher or whatever was given the same. He was, in other words, he was still feeding into that philosophy of why that you're doing the right thing. You know, they was feeding him the same philosophy that this thing that we are doing, even though those folks up north is talking about freeing the slave, but we're doing the right thing. God, He's appointed us to be the rulers and this, that, and the other. You know, so
and we're taking care of you, we're feeding you. And this is life.
But also, too, I think that we should take it into consideration, too, that even if they are controlling us, they are still giving us what to say and how to say it because we don't know how to read it.
Wait a minute, you lost me in this us thing. We're the plantation owners, right?
Okay, but no.
Yes, right.
Animals, we want to breed them. We have enough people to live in the breeding thing. That's all. But gatekeepers. And if we
kill enough of the female Negroes, they're gonna submit anyway. So.
Wait a minute, they're submitting. Because it's a difference in submitting to
Because we ain't talking about sexual exploitation. Only because they can't bear children. We ain't talking about, you can have sex with them all you want.
Yeah, but if they can't bring forth children,
But she can't bear children, but she can bring in more from sun up to sundown.
we don't have to kill them all. We don't have to kill them all. We just have to kill a few of them. We ain't gonna kill them all. I mean, so we're gonna make those choices. We got a right to make those choices. We ain't gonna kill them all. Just enough of them to make them kill. You ain't gotta kill all our neighbors.
That is best you did get that child.
Yeah, I don't care what. You know, you work at it. I don't care what. So yeah, we gonna kill them all.
You know, much better as you can, because when you get of age, you go back.
You're gone. Okay, okay, let's go. And the other way that yeah, but we talked a little bit about how we use the Bible to keep black folk in mind. But we also use the Bible, for example, to talk about black folk where the children of Ham, and we all knew Ham was illegitimate. So that continues to stigmatize and characterize black folk. But we still ain't worthy, because Ham was not truly a child. I mean, he was outside. You know, and we look like Ham, so therefore we don't belong to the rest of it. We still outside. So we take portions of the Bible and we make it fit what we want.
Yeah, we already got that up there. We talked about it.
Yeah, well, that's what we were told. We were told to do that. See, as the people, we was given in many a false concept of what the
Oh yeah,
Bible
but
was
I'm the
saying.
right boy. I don't care about y'all got a false concept. I mean for y'all to understand that y'all outside people, no matter what y'all do, y'all can't be ever as good as we are.
Now this group right.
Well, I mean, control. You have when you want total control over people, you have to have it in all facets of life, all way of life.
Everywhere you look, you
facet
see
of
it.
life. Right.
You see it everywhere.
Whatever you involved in, they control it. They control it. So that's what the total condemnation.
And as a matter of fact, before y'all go to bed, and the first thing when y'all get up in the morning, I want y'all to look at a white man and pray to God that we gonna supply y'all every need. When y'all wrong, we'll be able to give y'all forgiveness. Y'all just come to the white man and ask for understanding.
Let me put up that women and lynching for runaway slaves.
We're gonna chop up their
That's not us.
I mean, worse yet, not only we gonna chop off their foot, we gonna chop off for the males, we gonna chop off their penis. Because that's gonna send a real clear message to y'all. You smile, but you could lose yours. Sit up. That's my husband said. I don't care nothing about you, but if you disobey me, that's gotta go.
But we now that's not the one we gonna kill. Because we want them
We're gonna kill you. We want you to suffer. We're gonna castrate
but we want him to be able to get us some kids now.
You only gotta castrate one brother to get your message across the rest of them.
Those he made trouble. So he
made trouble. So you're gonna
be
he's a troublemaker. So
he'll be put on the cross.
Okay. Well, go ahead.
It's like castration.
That's good.
So you create this difference. You try to build people who are like you, and then create these people who are different from you. So then we can create among our darkies, them fight within themselves, and then we can sit back and let them kill each other.
In other words, that's what we said.
Right.
You got headache and
So that's that loyalty factor, right? Where we bring them in the house and we teach them that they're better than the ones that's out there.
Oh, absolutely. That's right.
But we still keep them in a place where their only loyalty is to us. I mean, if my head hurt, our head hurt. It's not just mine. Like Master we say.
Just 2 weeks ago, I heard a black man say, my white folk. Who? A black man said it. My white folk. Me and HolmesCountyPark, this guy was saying his white folk. This is 1998, y'all. but my white family. So you take on this concern, like when our house is burning, we want to create niggas who want to put it out. Not your field hands who want to say blow, wind, blow. We want to create the niggas that's going to run and help us put this fire out. Okay, so we want to create folk who love us. Oh, absolutely. But now we want to keep this going. So the other things we want to do is now we don't want our doctors in the church. Not when we're in there. We want to go teach them, right? But when it comes time for us to go to church, we need to be alone so we can continue to teach our children this domination and control. Because we want to keep this going forever. We don't ever want it to stop. So if we want to keep it going forever, then how do we make that happen? How do we make sure that even though it's 1800s, when the 1900s come, we're still going to be in control? How do we make that happen?
You keep instilling it. You don't change it, do you?
Okay. Latrell says something. Say it a little bit louder.
Brainwash.
How do we brainwash them? How do we get these donkeys to act the way we want them to act? Well, what happens when them dogs start thinking different? Because you know it's going to be a nigga that think different.
You're going to have to separate them.
Let's separate them?
And that's where punishment comes in. You lose a foot.
Okay, so two things to mention. Ms. Fuller says separate them, which means you can sell them off.
Yeah, sell them off.
Sell them off. We can whip them.
Troublemaker.
Okay, so
you steal something, you lose a family. I mean, you know, it's that we make the punishment so severe that the other one ain't gonna dare do what that one did.
do we turn this into a law?
Yes,
we say by law we can whip on our donkeys? Okay, because they are property, so we can do whatever we want to do. Okay. I got on my plantation. Eventually, I'm gonna go sleep with one of them. Okay. Now, if I'm the daddy, then what's gonna happen to that child? Is that a child or is that still a son?
I get out of character for a minute. I know that
but when I get tired of running the house, I'm gonna go down there today. I'm gonna walk down that lane and get me. I'm gonna get me about one.
Stepping outside of character for a minute, though, a lot of slave masters did procreate with slave women, and those children became more valuable because of the lighter skin, and they sold them off because their wives wouldn't have them in the house. Okay, that happened in a lot of cases. Some cases they claimed them, and in some cases they were just there to help raise the real children in the house. So they became, no rights, no nothing, but they became better companions to the master's real children because they really had brothers and sisters, but they raised, many times they did that and used those children as companions. Now I'm stepping out of character, but I know these things happen.
For them to take it home. They could not come through the front door.
Look, y'all, I know this sounds cruel, but I can see the expression on Annie's face, but that's how it was. We didn't go to the store.
You didn't go to the front.
That's how you break a person. You go to the side door, you take my note to the door, and the guy fill the note, give it to you, and go on back.
That's right.
And my uncle like this.
So that's how we maintain control.
She didn't want the black person to touch her.
We make sure you don't have the same things we have.
Screen door, and then she
We don't want them slaves to have the same thing we have. That's how we put that stamp of inferiority on. And see, that was maintaining the
black
system.
person face. And you had that experience on that.
So maybe that might be another one. How do we maintain that stamp of inferiority? Like going to the store, you don't have the right to go to the store.
That's right.
Put number 2. How to maintain the stamp of inferiority.
Maintain order.
Just scratch through. Come on, man.
They didn't do it so they did it because they wanted to be independent. And you know what? If you were damaged to them,
You can't look at the air.
Last I heard that they said that the air was on and it was on 50.
Of the store.
Last that I heard, but I suppose it's insulated.
So, how often do they know to have community meetings?
Who?
We
have town meetings quite often when, as a matter of fact, we just had one last week. Just whenever the need occurs.
And and what we normally do when we get together, we talk about our slaves, what they are doing, what they are not doing, and how we're going to make them do.
So we have meetings quite often.
Right.
Now you know that. You come to all these meetings, now you act like you didn't see.
I'm trying to get you playing. Come on in, help me out. And look at me like y'all must be.
It's rough because being the idea that we're actually looking at now is that we're putting ourselves in their position, and we're actually talking about what happened. And this right here is exactly what happened. So.
I really believe people actually like that. Where we sitting here today, I have to go back like with let's say we like we all sitting here being black now. We're gonna be asking questions that we don't know. Now we go back and we're gonna be quiet. So that people that don't know some of the answers, they're gonna have to ask questions in order to get to where they need to be. So let's say my husband passed away and I'm here, and let's say my husband been doing all the commentating meetings. I never attended one meeting. I don't know how to go back doing nothing. Now then, I need to know how to continue to work with them slaves that I had.
Because you know what? It's because we have.
We don't need to let anybody get married either. That's another way to maintain control.
Right, and we also have Mr. So-and-so down the road is going to teach you and show you how to maintain those slaves. Because I'm going to tell you that if they get out of hand, I want you to call me and my hired help will get them back in, get them back for you. You know.
I'm gonna lend you one of my
how about Springer
hands to come over in the morning, be there in the morning, and sort of set them on their day, join that double out.
So you saying that your husband just died out, but you remember that we stick together. So if you leave here, we right there.
At least marrying across farms.
No, we don't want to marry at all. You let them
if you're right in the small,
Well, marriage, I mean, at this stage, marriage ain't even a question.
Right, large one there. You right too small, baby.
They did let them marry.
Huh?
They just live together.
You agree? But start writing large, though. So
It goes to show you how deep that is embedded into our thinking.
Yeah.
And we really don't know it. We don't know it. Because let me say this, then I said so. I remember when I was in Chicago, and this was right after Martin Luther King. Just as I said, Push X. And when you go into the amphitheater, he had a big cross up there, just like this. And he had Martin Luther King on that cross. It was the size of a man. You know? And it was two ladies that were standing up there. And they looked at it with, what are you doing with that thing up there? That ain't no real cross. And it hit me. It's just like the other one. It's who comes. So many of us can realize that when you become a worship of things, you can be deceived. You can be deceived. Never be the worship of things. But a way of life you hold dear. And that's what you follow, a way of life. But not a thing. Because things comes and go. All right, I'm going to stop all.
Now, I want to ask you something, because now we all sit right here and we can all agree that we're going to keep these niggas in line. What about you? I mean, you know, because if you ain't with us, then you're not with us. So we want to know what you think about these niggas. What's your idea? Start out with y'all. Come on, what's your idea about these niggas? What y'all do? What do y'all do to keep us in line? What you do to keep us in check? What's something y'all
We would make sure that you never got the right to vote. We would make sure that you never all have no organizations in your community where you could develop leadership. We would plant gatekeepers. We'd make sure that there's a gatekeeper that informed us of whatever was going on in that community, so you could never be successful.
How we gonna make that keep? You gotta make these get
Yeah, we definitely.
So how we gonna make that get
All we have to do is promise them they can eat in the kitchen. They don't have to eat out there with the rest of them. You can come in the house and eat.
You don't have to work in the field.
You don't have to work in the field.
We can.
But it's all in the house, nigga.
I think another way to maintain our system and our slaves is that if we catch 2 or more slaves talking together in any type of discussion, there'll be still punishment, even death. Because we don't want them to be allowed to talk to one another. They could be planning escape, they can be planning to abduct people or anything. So we gotta have stiff punishment on there.
Deny them the right to assemble.
Deny the right to assemble. You got me to deny the right to assemble.
Together 4 or 5. You get 5 or 6 young black folk together. Police and they can just be standing there holding a conversation. This happened now, right now.
Young folks, what y'all think? What y'all think? This conversation is about 5 people. What y'all think? What y'all think? What can we do besides what we got up there to maintain our system and keep slaves on our control?
Another thing, you have to keep going through that community. Like every so often, live through.
Yeah.
You know, that's to prevent what you just come. Keep them, if they see us coming, then they're going to break up. But if we see them together, we'll make an example of them.
Twice a week, KKK will march down all black communities.
I think it should be an unlimited amount, you know.
Unlimited.
Don't set a regular pattern.
Okay, now don't set a regular pattern.
Yeah, because that way they can predict when
Right.
they're coming through.
You know they're coming through every 2 months.
KKK will be marching down, okay.
Just take away that whole issue. Let's make it
Don't allow them to know where they come from.
So not only do we send representatives, we got to send some landowners in and other folk with money. Okay. You can't get them pro-crackers up there because you know them pro-crackers will get sympathetic with the niggas and we don't have some problems. If we ever get it there, our pro-white trash and the niggas together, we don't have some problems.
Well, you know, part of our agenda have got to be that we got to teach these poor folks that these niggas out to get them.
That's true. We're going to create some distinction between our pro-white trash and the niggas. To let the pro-white trash so the niggas going to take over what y'all got. So there you go. We created our That's what came audit to me. That's a total to me. Trailer park trash and pro-white trash.
I learned that from white folks. That is not a black person's term. We did not come up with
white
that.
folks.
They did.
And they can spot them in the video.
That's right. They said, I ain't having that pro-white trash in my house. And they meant it. You come in there. They were glad that trash.
Not that trash. And our daughters ain't going to marry that poor white trash.
That's right. You get this on.
That's right. They bring that trash and don't have a chance to come with it.
That's why these white folks so mixed up. They intermarry. They talk about black folk marrying.
We'll go back.
That's them white folk here.
We'll go back and help April talk about this whole idea of having that the only way to be in Congress is that you have to be a
landowner. All of our representatives in Congress had to be landowners.
So then they understand what owning the land means.
Right. And that's what they're figuring out. That we have to make sure we got the right people in there.
I'm saying just to have land.
Oh, okay. So you're saying in addition to owning land, you got to own some darkness too?
I think it should be a step because I'm saying that way everybody would have something similar, something common. You know, because they didn't own one, maybe they just totally disagree with it. You know what I'm saying?
15.
April, I think the other piece of that we want
They got
to
15 minutes.
Not only to be a landowner, but you gotta own you some darkness too. You gotta own you some darkness.
Need to be landowners and slave owners, and slave owners.
Right.
Now, but see now, can you legislate? I mean, y'all gotta think about this. Now, I know y'all
But
from the South.
we did legislate that it had to be landowners.
Yes, you did. You were able to do that. But now, were you able to say to folk, you got to be able to own slaves?
No, we didn't say that.
You really can't do that under the law that you
You can
currently
own
have.
property, you gotta own a certain amount of property, and we all
we stipulate.
So
There you go.
landowners and property owners.
There you go. Now that's how you talk about it.
Them slaves are part of that
So
property.
instead, well, we still be talking about slavery.
I agree, but you gotta know how to talk about it.
Okay.
Right? You gotta know how to talk about it so that
Right.
folk don't think that y'all showed up just inhuman folk. You gotta know how to talk about it so that folk believe you are the most Christian most, humanistic, most loving folk in the world. And that you couldn't do any of these other things because you really are the total God's package.
We are God's chosen folk.
There you go.
Absolutely. That's what His chosen.
And we know what's best.
And God brought us here to show the dark is the way to go anyway.
Because they're heathens.
Because they're heathens and they got that in them. We bringing them over.
That was Ebonics. That's what we got Ebonics from.
Then I think the other thing is saying that they're probably you have to.
Come on, the video.
What? You can't breathe those laws the same way?
How would you keep the slave under your control?
In terms of what you look up for what kind of slave, you're doing what you want to do.
What about keeping the trade market open so that they can, where we can keep them constantly sold and marketed like animals?
Yeah, we need to go take the
Don't let them stay at one place too long.
Turn them over.
Trade them, we're going to trade them off every so often.
Yeah, that way they won't get used to it. They won't be knowing how to
They can never establish a home.
They know I'm just here for a little while.
They don't have any credibility.
Yeah.
Trade them off to Mr. Sam over there. People moving around. I want them to make friends with one another.
They get too comfortable. They need to
Get them comfortable. Make sure you keep them, don't let them comfortable. Start feeding them.
And develop some leadership skills.
Humiliation.
Well, that's what we're doing when we beating them in the public eye.
Just want to be sure that we got that up there. When I get ready to beat my niggers on, well, no, y'all run up till I can beat my niggers.
Now you keep saying niggers. He's slaves.
They're still niggers. Say anything I want to call them. Oh yeah, why don't we just do that? Let's call them anything we want to call them. I call them niggers. I call them stud. I can call them a young buck.
With that term.
I think it's a good one though.
But that's a degrading term.
So I mean, what you want? You want to call your nigger Mr. and Mrs.?
You see how you assume how easy this is? And then when you start to think about it, we get into boxes and we don't draw on our experience and we don't relate from one period in history to another. If I said this was 1960, not 1860, and I asked you the question, how would you guarantee that whites make the law and blacks don't? You would tell immediately what you do is what?
They didn't vote.
Who didn't vote?
Blacks.
Why? Because they weren't allowed to vote because
they were black.
Because
they had no rights.
What? They had no rights, and what did it say?
It was 350 land.
That was in the Constitution of the United States, but what was it what was the local law?
They owned no land.
That's right, and you couldn't own land, and in order to vote you had to own land. So you had laws which
protects.
Right. And in what way was it only for whites? How do you spell that out to make sure that only whites make the law? You say what? Yeah, and how do you say that?
By putting a restriction on it. That keep
What restriction on what?
On the voting laws.
On what part of the voting law?
As far as us being registered voters or being able to vote, we make sure that the restrictions never apply to us.
Who's us?
Black.
And so you make laws which say whites can vote and blacks can't vote. Right? Just as simple as that. Right? And only whites can hold public office?
Right.
Right? That's how you spell it out in the state constitution. That's how you spell it out in the local law, right? Just as simple as that.
Whites can vote for blacks.
Whites own blacks. Blacks are property, right? Property doesn't vote, people vote, right?
Right.
Guns don't kill people, people do, right? Property doesn't vote, people do, right?
Right.
I mean, it's just that, but you gotta say it.
Have to spell it out.
So, okay.
You got to spell it out,
So what was it?
right?
The
Property don't vote.
right here, whites
And
vote, blacks
property,
can't.
and when a slave runs away, a slave is breaking the law, right? That's what gives you your. There's a moral question. There's a moral question. Whites like to have the shield, the protection, the insulation of appearing to be moral when they do the most incredibly immoral thing. So they got to justify everything. So the white person says, look, this is what the law is, right? When you do that, you're breaking this is not the way to go about changing things. This is breaking the law. When did they say that? When we sat in 60, 61, they said this is not the way to change things, right? You're breaking the law. You're trespassing. That's wrong, right? Have a familiar ring to it? Can you remember which century we're in?
She already got a right to kill.